Hello and welcome to your astrological vibrations for Tuesday, June 16th, 2020 by Gaia Blooming. I'm Mimi and our energy mantra for today is, it is my responsibility to listen and it is my responsibility to teach. And just like we had that inconjunct the other day between the Sun and Pluto, today we have this inconjunct between the Sun and Jupiter. And the inconjunct energy, we don't know how to see eye to eye. We don't know how to work with these two energies. And it's really interesting because I always say Jupiter is the teacher, one of the teachers. Jupiter and Saturn are the teachers. So with Jupiter energy, Jupiter retrograde, we really do want to look at the teacher within, but also acknowledging there are teachers outside of us helping shift the structures that be, helping bring about these changes in the world. At the same time, we have Gemini energy, and Gemini energy is where we want to listen. It's where we want to be the student. It's where we literally take in everything. And yet, with that energy, we want to also acknowledge that as we take in, as we are the student, we are also the teacher. So it's finding your balance between where you're being called to listen in with these energies, where that's your responsibility to listen, to learn, to grow, to expand, to get new perspectives on things. And where from this learned growth place you are being called to step up and teach. It doesn't mean you have to be up there with a ruler. She's doing some crazy stuff right now. Ruler, batting people, it's just like, this is what I've learned. This is what I'm sharing from how I have expanded my perspective. So we have that going on to start the day. Now, it's interesting because we may find some worth stuff coming up. Now, that may be in part because of this Venus energy, Venus still retrograde in Gemini. Can definitely bring up worth stuff, especially if you have any issues or wounds around being heard. I know that's one of my big wounds and one of my big issues. It goes back to Atlantis, if not before then. Probably goes back to Lemuria even. Anyway, if there is something around that, you may get some of those worth wound bubbles popping up to work through. But the moon moving into Taurus around 2:35 a.m. and making a few connections, they're going to help work us through some of these energies around the willingness, again, to speak up, because throat chakra stuff, because it's a very real thing on our planet right now, and there are many who are addressing these throat chakra issues, which do go hand in hand with sacral chakra issues, and it goes hand in hand with worth stuff. All right, so moon in Taurus. Actually, moon in Taurus is bringing us into the dark of the moon. We are building into this new moon, total eclipse energy, not total eclipse, sorry, close to total eclipse, but new moon eclipse energy at the end of this week. So as the dark of the moon, as we build into that, shadow energies come up. We go into the dirt. We go where there is fertilizer. Like that Joseph Campbell quote that I love so much, where you fear to tread, or the cave you fear to enter is where your treasure lies. I always memeize it, but so we're going into that cave. We're going into the dirt. We're going into the fertilizer. Moon in Taurus. It is highly fertile, but it's not necessarily easy, just like our Earth process here. So moon in Taurus, we're going to have it squaring Saturn, Saturn at that 0-degree energy, Saturn into the future, and yet where we are right now feels dense. It's like, how can we build a bright future from this dense, rocky soil? But keep in mind, as we go deeper, here it is, as we go deeper, it's very fertile, it's very moist, it's good soil. I'm getting really weird looks over there. Talking about the dirt here, we're talking about the earth, and utilizing this energy. And so again, don't Don't just stand and stay in the fears. Acknowledge them, because again, the fears have wounding, and they even have gifts even in them, as we are willing to face any of the fears. But yet, realize that this is, we right now where we're at, this is the foundation for our next steps. So we really do want to make it a good one. So we want to be willing to go there. Speaking of all that, we're going to be, I don't even know what the word is, rototillering? I don't even know, roto-rooter? I don't know what it's called. Moon and Taurus. Moon and Uranus in Taurus, sorry. The moon will conjunct Uranus. Uranus is that trigger. Uranus is upheaval and change. So, roto-rootering? I don't know what it's called, sorry. We're going in, we're taking out those rocks, we're taking out the impurities in this foundation, in this soil. Now, for you, it's looking again at this worth stuff. Again, the energy mantra, it's your responsibility to both listen and learn at this time, and also communicate and teach. And so it's like noticing, where does that worth stuff pop up? Where do you find the boulders? Where do you find those blocks from showing up as you are called and guided to show up at this time? So that's going to be later in the evening that happens, but just be aware of it as we're building through the day into that energy. Again, moon can represent that which is hidden, and often it likes to pop up through emotional shifts. Now, something I also want to mention, between the moon meeting up with Uranus, the fact we are in our last full day before Mercury goes retrograde. It's going retrograde late in the evening on Wednesday. Oh my gosh, we've been having so many technology issues. I was driving somewhere I didn't know today. The phone totally, or GPS on the phone totally had me turning the wrong place. Phone calls being missed, not working, texts not going through for so long. Technology, it's already in retrograde for technology. So if you are experiencing that, do realize that Moon Uranus energy may heighten that as we finish up these last few days of Gemini. That also could, bring about that technology issue. So we're having it on so many levels. Chances are you're going to face it. Don't freak out. Usually it finds its rebalance point. But here we are on the precipice of Mercury retrograde energy. Okay, so tuning in, listening deep within, whether it's for the worth stuff or it's for, like, what are you being called to teach at this time? What have you taken in? What have you learned that you need to integrate at this time? Honoring your personal guidance. And that's another thing. I said it in the scope yesterday, and I'm going to reiterate this. Just because you look up to somebody, just because they are an authority figure, does not mean that their guidance is always sound, or is even sound for you. And this is where you really have to take it in for yourself. This includes what I say. So really judge it for yourself. Use discernment for yourself. I have the let go card. I'm feeling this kind of on an emotional level. Emotions with this Mercury energy, Mercury about to go retrograde in Cancer. I had this the other night. I was laughing one second and the next second I was crying because it connected suddenly on this other level. So just be aware. Let these emotions move through. It'll help you with this incoming eclipse in the sign of Cancer. I also have the patience and the trust cards, and I have them in reverse. And my feeling is we're not feeling either of these very much. We're not feeling patient with anything that's happening in the world, and definitely not trusting that the soil is fertile with this. And so this may be where you need to do some of this work, but also some of this tuning in work and connecting to your higher guidance so that you can be in a place of trust. I will remind you that Spirit does have a plan, and we are all meant to be a part of this. And so the best thing each of us can do is show up as we are called to show up. Take our place. So you can book a reading with me. Email me, mimiclark@gmail.com. Besides that, the better it gets, the better it gets. There's more than enough love in the world for you. You have the power, and stay curious. Namaste.